Welcome. We're going to cover the basics of the jigsaw cooperative method. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to assume you have 28 students in your intermediate class, although this works with more or fewer, primary or intermediate, any age. But rather than deliver the content in a whole class setting, where the teacher talks to all the students one bit of content at a time, we're going to form 4 groups of 7. Now we form smaller groups for a variety of reasons. When they're in their smaller groups, for example, it may be that they can learn the content separately and at the same time, perhaps brainstorming out ideas. You may want them to form their own opinions. But again, for this example, we're going to focus on learning content. In particular, we're going to learn different content at the same time. So you notice that the red group would learn all the same as each other member in the red group. They'd be given materials, they'd talk about it, they discuss it, and then once the teacher is fairly certain that each group is familiar with their own material, that's when the magic of the jigsaw begins. The teacher would have the children reform into 7 groups of 4. It's a little chaotic, but it does mean that each group ends up with an ambassador or an expert. Well, most groups. Might take a bit of time or patience, but you'll get there. Right. So how did we get from here to here? Well, the key is, when we first formed those groups, we actually used 2 attributes. For example, color and perhaps a number. You might say, I'd like everyone who has a red card to come to this part of the classroom. Or you might say, I'd like all the students who have a number 1 on their card to form a group of 4 in this part of the classroom. And that's where the interesting part begins, because each of the small groups of 4 will begin teaching their peers what they have just learned. They're both listening and they're speaking. They're teaching and they're learning. Here's a simple way to create 7 groups with 4 kids in each. Use simple playing cards. 4 suits. Take the cards ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, shuffle them up, hand them out, and you're off to the races. You might call together all those children who have a card with a heart, for example. Come to this part of the room. Or if you have spades, a different part of the room. This will create your 7 groups. This is the time when the content is available to each of those 4 different groups, different content. They get a chance to talk it over and to practice before they go off to their other groups. They're mixed groups. And at that point, you'd ask for perhaps all those children that might have, an ace, come to this part of the room. Or if you have a 2, come over here. And this is where the peer-to-peer teaching and learning would occur. But for our purposes, we are using 7 pictures taken from calendars. Each of the 7 pictures is divided into 4 parts, and each of the 4 parts has a little yellow label with a number. 7 pictures, 4 parts in each. So to initiate this, you might shuffle these pictures up, hand them out to the students, and say, right, let's have all those students that have a little number 1 on your picture come to this part of the classroom. Or number 2s come off to another part, and so on. You provide the materials that they're going to learn, they get a chance to discuss it amongst themselves, and then comes the fun part. We'll ask each of those students to go find 3 others so that they can complete their picture. And using the numbers and looking for pictures that will fit together in appropriate ways, you'll soon have 7 groups with 4 in each. So that's the essence of the jigsaw cooperative method. We start with 4 groups, homogeneous, 7 in each. Once they've learned the content, the teacher's ready, they move into their mixed groups of 4 in each group of 7, where they both learn and teach.